All right, it's jpeg2RAW show number 54, and tonight we're doing a special edition. We're doing a listener hangout. Every once in a while we intentionally do not book a guest for a couple of reasons. One is to give the listeners a chance to come into a hangout if they want and talk with us and ask questions and just generally hang out. No agenda, anything we want to talk about that's still PG rated. You know, we do want this to get a clean rating from iTunes, so we got to keep it within those parameters. And then the other reason sometimes we don't book a guest is we want to talk about a topic that we don't really need to have a guest for, or that we think we have some in-house expertise, or we just want to go over a certain topic. And one of those topics we're going to do eventually, pretty soon, maybe next week. No, not next week. I got somebody next week. Pretty soon, we want to do a hangout or a show just on like Lightroom. Kathleen I think she is close to being a fully converted Lightroom user, where she's going to move most of her, not all, but most of her processing from Photoshop over to Lightroom. She's been working on a lot, and I think she has a lot to share with us, because I think my learning has been over time, and I don't remember everything. Some of the things I don't remember, she's done it in a much shorter period of time, just kind of condensed it, so she has a lot of things to share with us. But we'll post the Hangout link in just a couple of minutes, maybe like 15 minutes, into the group, Facebook group. If you're a member of the Facebook group, you can see that link. Just click on that link and come right in and join us. Do try and reduce your background distractions if you can, so we don't have too much of that sound coming through. And also make sure you mute the Hangout, what you're seeing here on the web page, or else we'll get feedback. But I want to mention that we're on YouTube, we're on Stitcher Radio. We continue to get a lot of growth on Stitcher Radio. I'm always shocked. And not only are we getting more and more listeners on Stitcher, Tim, but we're getting a lot of good listeners coming into our Facebook group and joining over there. A lot of active people in the Facebook group are coming over from Stitcher Radio. So we really appreciate you, Stitcher Radio folks. So I said YouTube, Stitcher Radio. I get it on BeyondPod on my phone. There's a lot of other apps you can get it on iTunes on your phone, or however else you want to get it.
I use Downcast on my iPod Touch. Probably it's great. I wish they had it for my Android phone, then I would actually get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of got BeyondPod. It does what I need for me, and so I just stuck with that. And speaking of our group, if you're not a member of the group, please consider joining. It's a lot of good, talented people in there that are willing to share, willing to help you out. Post your photos and get. It's not just about posting your photos and getting critiqued, although that goes on. There's a lot of other general photography discussion that goes on there that's really good. Also, make sure to like the page and comment on the show on iTunes. That really helps us out and move up in the rankings. I think you can still see it here. I've got the Wacom tablet and this thing that I accidentally ordered. It's there you go, Kingston Media Reader, that we need to give away. Tim, right now I generally have figured out how I'm going to do the giveaway, and I've already started the giveaway and all that.
Okay.
But what I'm struggling with here, and maybe I can use some feedback, is generally we want these Hangouts to, one, benefit the current listeners, but also, and I wanted to hit start broadcast, but also to attract new listeners. So what I need to figure out is, how do we use this as a way to attract new listeners. So if you got any feedback on that, any suggestions, please be willing to share those. And tonight, later on, we are going to pick a winner in our August contest, for photo contest. We had 3 finalists, and I think what we do it Saturday. Tim?
Yeah, I think Saturday we
sent them. I sent them to the 4 judges, the 4 admins, which was Kathleen, Tim, Gina, and myself. I already had them, of course. And those 4 people ranked their 1 through 3 on which ones they liked. There were like I said, 4 entries: 1 from Samantha, 1 from Lynette, and 1 from Mitchell. And all 3 of those got very good votes. Still, even with the votes they had, there was still plenty of room for somebody else to come up, because I think the maximum votes were like 30, and we have over 400 people in the group. So, feel free to vote if you didn't get the vote this last time. But all 3 of those we're going to show here. Well, actually, we're showing them now, aren't we? Yeah, we're scrolling through the three now. I had another screen set up.
Yes.
We're scrolling through the three now, and one of these we're going to put up as the new Facebook group photo for the rest of this month, and until a new one's picked, and the winner will get to pick the topic for next month. Because right now we're doing what's the contest now for September celebration? I
Yes.
think. Yeah. So we will pick a winner here, and we've actually already picked a winner. And I should say, Tim, that it was not a unanimous vote.
No, but the one I was my favorite was the one that ultimately won, so I was very pleased.
I personally liked all three of these. They were all three really good. But the one that I actually liked the most didn't come close to making it to the top three. The one I really liked, and the thing about photography is a lot of it is personal
Very
taste.
subjective.
Very, very subjective. A lot of people, all three of these people really liked, but there were others that people liked that didn't get the top vote to get into the final three. It didn't make them not good. It just, for whatever reason, they didn't get picked this month. And I would encourage you to continue. It's going to be a different topic every month, and you never know when that topic is going to be something that you really excel at or you really like. But it's very subjective. And the one I liked was the girl drinking the drink. I can't remember who did that one.
Yeah, I don't remember who did it, but yeah, it was
Was that
nice.
one
But
you?
I know which one was my favorite, and I'm very pleased.
Yes, and I liked all three of these too, I should say, and some of the others too. So make sure you put your photo. You have until the end of September to put your photo into that album we've created, and that will get you into the September thing. The winner, all three of them will get listed in the show notes with links back to wherever they want us to link to. They're getting shown here on the show, so they'll be a part of the podcast. And the winner is going to be the new photo at the head of the Facebook page. And Stacy Jensen is also going to give them a $25 credit toward something from her store. So hopefully, I don't know how long she wants to continue to do that, but we'll keep taking them as long as she'll give them to us. So
Absolutely, you got to take them.
Tim, before we start inviting people in, I wanted to let you know that I did get my D700. So, I worked during the day and can't come home during the day, and they delivered it on Friday when I wasn't here, and of course you had to sign for it. And because you don't want them to leave something this expensive sitting on your doorstep.
You must live in a rough neighborhood, that's why.
No, it doesn't matter what neighborhood you live in. People can still steal in a good neighborhood or a bad neighborhood.
I work for UPS, and there are people that follow our vehicles around for that very reason.
Sure. So, what happened was I went online and said, all right, I'll come pick it up at the local distribution center. And I think I was really close to the cutoff on when you can do that. And I thought I got it in on time. So Saturday I go down there to pick it up, and it's not there yet. They said, oh, it'll be here Monday. Like, oh, good gosh, I don't know if I can get there, during the week. It's really hard for me to get there during the week. So I get into work Monday, and everybody's telling me, oh, you're in trouble because that place is like 2-3 hours wait during the week. It is just going to be awful. There's no way you're going to get that camera this week. And if I don't get it done by the end of the week, they ship it back. So I said, what I'm going to have to do is every day during lunch, I'm going to have to drive down to the UPS distribution center and just hope that one of those times is not busy. So Monday I drive down there, and there's cars everywhere. I go, oh my gosh. I said, well, let me go in and see what it's like. I walk in, there's not a soul in there. I think all the cars were the workers in the warehouse or somewhere else. There wasn't a soul in there. I walked up to the lady who was waiting for people to come pick up. She looked like she was about to fall asleep. And she scanned my information and handed me the box, and I was out of there within 3 minutes.
Very good, very good.
So, yep.
Glad to hear it worked out well, at least in the end.
The downside is every night when I get home it's dark, so I have not had a chance to take photos. Although I did, I take my son to swim lessons, and I just wait out in the truck while he's swimming. And this is not a place where I could go inside and take photos. So, but I'm sitting outside taking photos of like the parking lot sign and that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, if anybody is watching me, any of the mothers that are sitting out in the car waiting for their kids to come out, and what is that creepy dude doing sitting in his car taking photos. So I intentionally do not bring a telephoto lens so that they don't think I'm some kind of creeper, as Jackie just called me.
Yeah, creeper.
But I can tell you the ISO 6400 in this camera is amazing, and it's the D700 is what I got. It is amazing. It is as good as maybe ISO 500 or so on my D2X.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that dramatic of a difference. So it is my first full frame camera, and there will be some learning curve there. But I will tell you that since I'm going Nikon to Nikon, and we often joke about, especially since Kathleen's not here, we often joke with her about how she's on Canon and that kind of stuff. But the reality is any of the brands, Canon, Nikon, Sony, they're all going to take great photos. It's more down to the photographer than it is the camera. Good
Yeah,
gear.
you need the camera for certain types of pictures, but
Yeah.
it's the person behind the lens
Good,
that's really going to make the picture.
right. Good gear can make a big difference, but if you get in one of the top end cameras there, it's not going to it's going to do good. So anyway, one of the other reasons why I stick with Nikon, other than just having glass, is I don't have to read through the entire manual. When I start looking through the menus, I know what most of that stuff is because it's very, very similar. Nikon doesn't dramatically change the menus. There's a few new things in there that I do need to look up and see. But the other thing I do, and I put a question on the Facebook page about this, Tim, is one of the first things I do is they have menu banks. I don't know if Sony has this, and I haven't used Canon to this degree, so I don't know either. But on Nikon, they have memory banks, or what do you call it? Custom menu banks.
Memory settings.
Yeah, so like I think it's 4 menu banks, and actually in two different groups. So I can go in there and set up all my custom shooting styles, like what kind of focus to use, how many point focuses to use, whether the ISO range, all that kind of stuff, and I will set up a sports custom
Right, so
menu.
one for the swimming when you're indoors under specific lights.
Yeah, so for instance, for the sports, I have it set to lossless compressed RAW. So it saves me a little bit of space. Also have it set to 12-bit instead of 14-bit. And then I think I have the low-end frames per second set to like 4 or 5, something like that. Then when I have a landscape one, I have it set to maybe a 3 frame per second on the low end, and then have it set to the starting ISO. I don't have auto ISO. I have it set to 200 ISO, which the lowest this will go, and a few other things like 14-bit and just regular RAW, no compressed, lossless compressed. So just some minor tweaks that I have for each one. Do you do anything like that?
I have it in there. I've dabbled with it, but I really haven't made any of my settings into the memory. And my old camera had it as well. And I actually looked it up. I actually looked at what other people were doing and trying to set up the settings that way, but I kind of wound up going with what I want at the time.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm a little
And you know what, you're right. I take soccer pictures probably every weekend. I should set it up. I should at least have one setting for that.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're going to do the same type of thing, it really helps. The other thing that I'm a little worried about is when I go shoot swimming, and it's indoors during the swim season. I am shooting with a 70-200 normally, and on my D2X, I get good range. I can hit probably 4 lanes in from the side. I can hit 4 lanes in on the swim meet, and still have decent.
Right, because it's pretty much effectively a 300mm lens.
Right, I'm still getting decent. What do you call it? Framing. Too much further than that, and you're getting like. It's too wide. You almost can't even tell who I'm focusing on because there's too many players, too many swimmers. But that 200 works really good. What I'm worried about is that 200 on a crop sensor, on a full frame, that it's not going to be zoomed enough. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there. That 300, that's a 100 to 300 millimeter f2.8.
Right.
It's hard to tell because it's so far back.
It's the one in the shadows, right?
Yeah. So it's that one. Versus that one is a 7200. They don't look that different, just far away.
They don't.
But I tell you that 100 to 300 is humongous and it's very heavy. There's no way I could handhold and take photos with that. I would have to put it on a monopod. And
that's what I use, a 100-400 in my soccer games, and I have a monopod.
Soccer games are different. At a swim meet with all the kids running around, and there's times I am literally got the kids are there cheering the other kid to come running at me. Come swimming toward where I'm at, and not because of me, just swimming them toward the side. And I've got kids on either side of me. They're almost touching me. I'm wet by the time the game's over because I got wet kids bumping up against me and splashing me from the pool and everything. And if I had to have a monopod that I was moving around like that with, I don't know how it would work. So I may just have to limit my shooting and where I can go. I may not be able to go all the way as far out as I wanted to go. The other thing is I generally get a, can you see that? This is the 72.
The motor.
I get the bottom.
Right.
With the attachment. And I got both of these from Adorama.
Right, I just realized I called it the motor. There is no motor in it anymore.
Right, it's just a battery.
Just get the batteries in there.
It's a battery, but it also has a all the buttons.
Right, I like that.
Yeah, and I got it from Adorama, and we do. Although I can't benefit from this because it'll know that I clicked it. On our website, we have both Adorama and Amazon. So if either one you're going to buy from, click on our link first. It's no extra money to you, but the show gets a little bit of credit. So I almost wish
we give that back. I think that little box to your right is
that's what that's bought that.
So
I almost have a mom buy it so I can get a little bit of credit, but then I'd have to wait even longer. But that bottom thing will take the battery from an old Nikon D2H, and it will then shoot at 8 frames per second.
Okay.
And I did have a D100 before, my first DSLR was a D100, and it had the bottom thing too, the add-on thing too, but it was not as well formed as this one. This one feels much better. The D2H and D2X I had before, it is built in, so it really feels nice. This one is not built in, but it still feels really nice. It's working really well. So Tim, as we continue to talk, I'm gonna go ahead and post the Hangout link. So if you're waiting for the link to join us, I'm posting it now in the Facebook group. So be looking for that, and then you can come and join us here in a minute. There's that. What else was I gonna say? I don't know. I can't wait for this weekend so I can go take some photos. Oh, also put it up on the Facebook group. I've sent Adorama a whole bunch of gear. When I was ordering this camera, I told the guy, hey, I got some stuff to sell, and he goes, awesome. So he gave me 2 prepaid postage things, one for 50 pounds, one for 25 pounds, and I was able to get everything into 50 pounds, and I sent them 3 cameras and 3 lenses. So I'm waiting to hear back from them on what they're going to give me for that stuff.
Well, hey, can't hurt.
And
I still have my old camera, and I need to sell it, and I have some old lenses that I don't use.
Well, here's what was stupid for me. I had 2 Nikon D2Hs and a D2X. So I kept my D2X. That's going to be a backup camera. And I also have a D100. I kept the D100, and I'm probably going to convert that over to full-time infrared. Hey, Sess, did I say that right?
Can you hear us, Sess?
I don't think he can hear us yet. So we'll see what they... Can you hear us?
Now he hears us.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Good evening.
I'm tired, but other than that, I'm good. Good evening, world.
Good evening. Nice to finally meet you.
Very nice to meet you too. Good to see you.
Other than just the chatting in the Facebook group.
Right.
So have you done a Hangout before?
I've done a Hangout one time in the past. I have some photography friends in Nashville, and it was with them.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. What part of the country are you in?
I live in St. Louis. Well, I live right outside of St. Louis.
You know what's funny is when I grew up in Louisiana, and when I went to school in Lake Charles, Louisiana area, which is far southwest of Louisiana, and when I got out of college, I had 2 places I wanted to move. And I don't know why I picked these 2 places, but one of them was St. Louis, and the other one was Atlanta. And I ended up picking Atlanta because my uncle lived here, and therefore I had free rent.
So there you go. You can't beat that.
And also, he sent me the classifieds for the ads. I'm an accountant. He sent me the ads for the accountant jobs here in Atlanta. And at the time, that section of the paper was bigger than our entire town paper. So I said, "Yep, I'm moving to
You're
Atlanta."
like, this place is big. There must be something going on over there. This
Yep,
place has it going on.
yeah. Well, in I was just talking to somebody the other day about how spread out everybody is, and one of the things Tim, I was talking to, we're in another group that's having a listener, what do you call it, a listener meetup.
Oh yeah, yeah, in Indiana.
Yeah, I would, as we get bigger, I would love to do that, but the challenge, of course, is location.
Yeah,
You're in New York. Kathleen and I, of course, are right here. I mean,
and you still haven't met.
yeah, we still haven't met, and we haven't even said where Kathleen is today. I mean, I think she did 3 shows, and now she's on vacation. So, uh,
She gets a lot of vacation.
I asked her that. I said, "Well, how many weeks of vacation do you get a year?" But we got you there. We got Sess in St. Louis. We've got listeners in foreign countries. So it's difficult to get everybody to ever do a real meetup. You may have to do like regional meetups or something like that.
Hey, and for the record, I don't mind being the Canon/Apple Mac representative for the night. I'm okay with that.
There you go. We like the balance because we didn't plan it this way, Sess. But
Yeah.
I like the fact that Tim, Kathleen, and I all shoot a different brand. That worked
think
out
it's cool.
great.
I
Yes,
think
it
it's
did.
cool.
So you can be the Kathleen tonight.
Wait a minute.
Does that mean he's going to be on vacation next week?
Are you taking vacation next week?
Probably.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. All right, perfect. Well, I don't think she's here next week either, is she?
No, she is. She's back next
Oh,
week.
she's back next week. Okay.
Yeah, and next week we have Ali coming back on talking about HDR.
Oh, good, good. I liked Ali.
Yeah, and then after that we have the guy from Fro Knows Photo.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss that one.
Yes.
I'm actually going to a a Met game.
That ought to be an interesting show.
Yes, yes.
Do you have? Oh, Jackie says Jackie's saying you need to wear a blonde wig.
Oh no. See, now that definitely won't go over with my wife.
No, what you should say is that you're filling in for Kathleen, but you're an improvement on Kathleen.
Ooh.
Well, he's here.
I'm just an alternative.
We can say what. Yeah, okay, you can do that. We can say whatever we want. She's not here to. She'll fuss at me later, but
Yeah,
I'll
we
pay
usually
for-
pick on her when she's. Matter of fact, we pick on her when she's here.
we do. We do. I should be nicer to her because I think maybe some fans may start to think that I really give her a hard time all the time, but I do like Kathleen, and she's a great addition to the show.
That is for sure.
So, Sess, what is it that what is your main subject that you photograph?
I am mostly music artists and concerts, and I had a maternity session last night. That was pretty cool.
Wow.
They said, "Was that your first maternity session?" I was like, "Actually, it was." They're like, "Wow." So I kind of felt good about that, to be honest. But
That's
I do a variety of things, whatever puts gas in the tank.
Absolutely,
There you go.
absolutely. What would you say is your favorite thing to shoot?
Oh wow. I mean, my favorite probably would be the music stuff, the music artists. I've got less of that than some other portraits and stuff on my website, but
Yeah.
music artists I think is pretty fun.
Okay.
So, what do you go to, like concerts?
I do gospel hip hop. That's actually kind of how it's one of the reasons I got into photography. But I have just a bunch of friends, Christian music, that I go to their, whenever they have something, they ask me to come, or we book a session, things like that.
I can imagine, in addition to shooting them, it's also the energy that's there. It's fun too.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, even if it's not a concert, for example, at a scheduled shoot, you still have kind of that artist vibe going on. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, they kind of know what they're looking for, and I can communicate what I want, so it helps.
Yeah. Now, how do you and this is something everybody struggles with, but after you get doing this more and more, how do you try and get something unique? You try different angles? Do you try different lighting? I mean, you don't have much control over the lighting. They do the lighting.
And yeah,
I
in
don't think
a
you're not shooting with flash, are you?
no, I really like not to.
It takes away from the mood, I would think.
It does. I just crank the ISO a little bit. pray. No,
What
no,
camera
I'm just kidding. But I don't use my flash. It's
Okay.
ambient light or whatever is out there.
Now you mentioned Canon. Which Canon are you shooting with?
Ooh, okay. And it hurts my feelings because I really want to go full frame, but I just haven't been able to. I have a T3i.
Okay.
Or the 600D, the Rebel series.
Well, I just got, as you probably know, I just got my first full frame. And I gotta tell you, the ISO is way better. Now, I'm coming from, and I don't know how your camera is probably a more modern one than the one I was coming from, because I think both Canon and Nikon got much better with the noise reduction. Starting probably with the Nikon D3, anything that generation, both in Canon and Nikon side, and I guess Sony too, Tim. Sorry.
Yeah.
There was almost like a breakthrough that they all had, and it got much better noise wise. I was the camera right before that. And yeah, so I was telling Tim earlier that ISO 6400 on this new camera is as good, if not better, than ISO 500 on my D2X.
Wow.
It is crazy. I have.
Well, how old was your D2X now? Is it about 4 years, 5 years old?
It's got to be at least that old. I should look it up on DP Review.
5 years is like an eternity in technology.
I'm looking it up as we talk.
Everything moves so fast.
What lens do you shoot with then? Are you shooting with the prime lens, I guess, to get a wide aperture open?
You're talking for me? I have a nifty 50 1.8.
Okay, there you go.
So yeah, I've got that, and then I have my Tamron 2.8. And that one I love. That's one of my new favorites.
Yeah,
but it's not a prime, it's a zoom.
Tim, you're not going to believe this. My D2X is from 2004.
Oh my God, 8 years old. Oh my God.
8
years old.
That's an old camera.
Is that your son, Seth?
This is my son. Say hi to the world. Say hi to the world. He's like, I really don't care. My video is on.
Yeah. Hey, that's me.
Yeah. Hey, we got somebody new.
Sarah and Trevor?
Yeah, that's us.
Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you all too.
How old is your son, Seth?
He is 20. Yeah, he's 20 months.
Okay.
So, and I think he just made some Play-Doh, so I'm gonna go fix it.
Okay. Sarah and Trevor, did anything arrive today?
It sure did.
Okay.
The 85 mil.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure that that came in.
That's a steel casing on that, huh?
What's that?
Steel casing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's pretty rock solid. Hopefully it came through okay. I was, when I put it up there and I gave you the tracking code, and Tim, we didn't use. It was UPS. Sorry, Tim, we did use UPS.
It's all you're allowed to use. Official sponsor of jpeg2RAW.
I wish. Hey, wait a second, Tim. You work there. What can you do for us?
Yeah, they don't do anything for me. I don't even get discounted shipping.
But I wrote down that code, and for like 2 days they didn't update the code. Like, what is going on? Where's the tracking of this thing? So you got to work on that, Tim. It took like 2 days, and it didn't track.
I'm surprised because when it gets into the building, before it even leaves the building, it's tracked the first time.
Yeah, but eventually it did, and then I was able to follow it. So, Sarah and Trevor, what's up with you guys?
Well, I was trying to get my computer up and going, but I was trying for the Google Hangout, and I didn't install a plugin, and it wouldn't let me. I don't know what the deal is with my computer.
Okay.
But other than that, not a whole lot tonight.
I muted Seth for just a second. We'll have to remind me to unmute him when he comes back.
When he comes in, where's everybody?
And he can unmute himself. That's one of the things here. So now, what do y'all mainly shoot?
Portrait right now.
Okay.
Outdoor portrait.
Are you both I know at least one of you is Nikon. Are both of y'all Nikon?
Yeah, we both are.
What are y'all shooting with?
D7000s.
Okay. There's news out today or whenever. Not today. It's been a while. But the Nikon 600.
Yes.
You guys see anything on that?
I've been seeing things about it.
Yeah, it's. I guess they're going to be announcing it officially here really soon. But it's supposed to be full frame, $1,500, almost 25 megapixel camera.
Wow.
So it sounds like a D800, not maybe I guess a D800 Lite.
Like junior version.
Yeah, I mean I hate to call it that because it's it almost puts the camera down, but it looks like it's a good camera. The maximum shutter speed is 1/4000, which is a little less than what you normally see. All
Yeah,
right,
but I mean that's a good price to get into full frame.
Cess is back.
Yes. Whoop, you muted? Hold on. Sis, can you hear me?
He's lip syncing.
Hold on. You muted? I keep unmuting him.
Says muted on the top of my screen.
You muted?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay.
Boom. Okay. So
Okay.
I was saying, I think someone said they're buying me a 5D Mark III. I think that's what you said.
Is that what your wife told you?
No, I thought I heard it in chat. No, I missed it.
No, I'm looking at chat. It's not written there.
Yep, it's not written there.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wishful reading.
Yep. All right. So, did any of you guys enter the contest, August contest?
I forgot.
Okay.
I didn't. This month was so hard for me.
Well, I guess we should go ahead and announce the winner. And we did have, like I mentioned earlier, we had the 3 photos. One was of a park. Probably you should get people to name them. At least when you pick from the top 3, you should give it a name because we don't have to make up a stupid name. We had the park, the pier, and then the girl in the field.
Well, before we announce the winner, what did you guys like?
The park and the pier for me were my 2 favorites.
Okay.
I really liked the park. I think I might have liked that one just a little bit better.
Okay.
All right, you guys are getting close.
It was tough for us too because we had 4 people vote, and I don't know what we're going to do if we have a tie. We have a tie there, Tim.
Yeah, I mean we could have easily had a tie.
We got to have somebody to be a tiebreaker at some point.
I think it'll be me.
We'll vote on who's the tiebreaker. That sounds like a deal.
Yeah, there you go.
What if that ties out?
I meant that as a joke.
4 separate votes.
Yeah, we did not. It was not unanimous, which is good. In a way that's good. It meant that all 3 are strong. That we liked all 3, and any of the 3 could have won. But in the end, it was. Let me find the name. Mitchell Cochran with the boardwalk or pier, however you pronounce that.
The one that's up on now.
Yeah, that one was the winner.
Ooh.
And yep, and I'll do that now as we are talking. I'm going to change the group photo to be that photo. We'll have to see how it shows up when it looks there. We have to move it around a little bit. And, of course, Facebook's messing up. But that'll be good. That'll be the photo for the rest of September. And until we... Oh, crap. That's not going to work. And until we can pick a winner for the September thing. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this as I do the show, Tim, unless you start talking.
I had a quick question. Well,
Yeah.
it's for Mike, so I can wait till after you're done doing your thing.
No, keep going. You can go. I'll try.
All right. So your picture that's hanging in the back, is that a float? Is that a
That one?
What kind of mount is that?
It is on foam cores. I ordered it from White House Custom Color,
Okay.
and it is on foam core. And I like that. I've done it several times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really good for like that. It has no frame. It's just a foam core, and I mount it right there on the wall. It makes it really light, and it mounts really
Now,
good.
does that wrap over the side edges?
It does not mount over the side edges.
Okay.
See, I have an acrylic, and I was wondering if that was an acrylic one. Have you guys heard of the new acrylic stuff people are doing? Hey.
Yeah, is that like a plastic?
Yeah, it is. Let me pull it off my wall here. Let me see. Actually, I actually won an award for this guy, but it's an acrylic. It's got it's actually metallic print, but you can see it's pretty thin. It doesn't have an outer frame, and yeah, it is plastic. It's got wood blocks on the back, and it kind of has a wire from there. And that's what I kind of thought your picture was. I wasn't sure, but it's it's pretty cool. Bumblejacks.com.
Humblejacks.com. Now, if you can see, there's one like right here. You can barely see it.
Barely see it.
That one is actually also from White House Custom Color, and I can't remember the dimensions of that one, but it's on a hard plastic, and it makes it. That was a mistake because it makes it very difficult to mount.
Okay, so it didn't have any mounting stuff already on it.
It did not. Now the foam core is real easy. You just get something, you can just push it into the back, and it's super light. But that plastic was a bad idea. I shouldn't have done that. And you know what's funny is I did it before. I ordered a 5x30, which is an odd dimension, 5x30 inch one, and which actually had 5 or 4 or whatever it was, 5x7s in that of my kids playing in the leaves, and that was on the hard plastic. That was on the hard plastic too. It was pretty good. I just can't find a place to put it. You know, I should have done it. The photos are landscape, you know, this way. I should have done it vertical, and then I could have hung it up right, right in that blank spot right there.
Yeah, you got a hole there.
I do have a hole there. I need to put something there. All right, so I've added the photo to our photo group, but I don't know how to. I wish you could shrink it to see it better. You know?
What do you mean into the photo?
No, I'm sorry, into the Facebook group, but you can't see the whole photo. Reposition the photo.
Yeah, Facebook does crazy things with cropping pictures on you.
Showing just the peers.
Yeah, you know what? I may have to bring it into Photoshop and change the size of it. So Mitchell, if you're listening or wondering why is my photo up there in that crazy position, I'm gonna have to wait until after the show before I can do much with it. So for now,
all you can do is reposition the photo. It looks like you can't actually.
Yeah. But after the show, I'll straighten that up and get a little better. So good job, Mitchell. Excellent photo. I think a lot of people actually even asked him to email the photo to them, and he did. He graciously sent them the photo. That was very nice of him.
As long
Andy,
as he
how
keeps
are
the
you?
copyrights to it.
Going crazy because I've got like 3 echoes going on right now.
Well, do you have the sound turned off on the podcast show?
I did, except I paused it during the ad, so it didn't pause the show.
Oh, yeah, I've done that too, yes.
So I had to wait for the ad to play so I could pause the show.
You mean you don't click on every ad so that the show can get credit?
Now the video ad, I don't get any credit on that. That's not me.
Oh, okay.
I know it was the video ad.
You know, actually,
That's just so the show's free on the.
That's a great point that Seth is making. Is that if you're watching the video and it pops up an ad, those aren't actually even my ads. Those are because we're using Justin TV for free. Part of that, the payment for using Justin TV for free, is that they will do pop-up ads every once in a while. So that's their ads. The only ad that we get any credit for is the static one that's below the chat.
There's an ad that may come up during our show. I have never seen that.
You know, that's one of the reasons we left Livestream and Ustream, because they did. Actually, Ustream got to the point where they were interrupting the show to show an ad, and it was random based upon the user. So, let's say Seth came in, and then later Andy came in, then later Trevor and Sarah came in, and they would all get a video ad that would stop our show. Actually, it wouldn't stop the show. The show keeps going. They just couldn't see it. They would see the ad, and then the ad would go away, and the show would come back in progress. But they would all get it at different times. There was no control over us. So we left.
Wow.
We left Ustream for that and went to Livestream. And Livestream was okay, but they did show a few more ads, and then we started having drop frames, where it was having trouble with the feed. We kept having issues that way. If you remember that, Tim, we had to at the last second switch several times.
Yes.
And so far, Justin TV's been doing pretty good. Faye Joyce out in chat asked, if I would pick the D600 over the D700, which I use D700 because you can't get a new D700.
It's a classic.
You know,
Now.
I don't know because I just got the 700, and I hate to say, and I don't really know the full specs on the 600. So since I just got the 700, I would say I guess I'd pick the 700.
I hope you would say that now.
The one thing that the 700 doesn't have that most of the new modern ones do, including the 600, is video mode. The 700 does not have video. How often I'd really use that, I don't know. Do any of you guys have a DSLR with video?
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually I did a music video on mine.
Okay.
A couple months.
D7000.
Trevor?
Our D7000s have video.
Yeah, use it quite a bit.
You gotta pause it. Mute one of them.
How about you, Andy?
No, I have an XSI. It doesn't do video.
Okay.
My Sony has the video, and I use it, and I equated it to I was always walking around with both my video camera and my SLR, and I hated the fact that I had to carry both because I never or rarely used the video, but there were times if I didn't take the camera, I would need it. So the fact that I have it and I've used it maybe probably less than 5% of the time, just the fact of having it is good for those times when I do need it.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good point. Is you don't have to use it just because you have it.
But then again, now my Samsung Galaxy phone could be used for video as well. That's just as good, probably.
It's got good video. I mean, I know I use mine on my camera all the time, but that's because I do more outside of photography.
Yeah.
Yeah, outside, the video camera definitely is better outside than it is indoors. It needs light.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think for now I'd pick the. I'm trying to grab a different section of the screen here. I would pick the D700 for me anyway. We got so many people in here. I can't grab the full section of the screen. So whoever's that last person's cut out.
Yeah, that's me. That's all right. You don't like me. I understand.
Well, you can be on the big screen whenever we talk. Sorry, Sam. And I was going to get the D800. And that's really the one I wanted because I shoot a lot of landscape, and the D800 has both the high megapixels great, but also the dynamic range is the best of any SLR ever produced. And for sports, while it sounds like who wants to take 36 megapixel sports pictures, I would not. I would shoot it in crop mode, and in the D800 in crop mode, it is a 15 megapixel camera, which is plenty. And it's actually more than what this D700 is. The crop mode of the D800 is more than what the D700 is. So that would have been a plus. But ultimately, Nikon is, as much as you'll find out if you know me for a while, that while I might be a fanboy, I'm not I won't let them have excuses. I will call it as the way I see it. And Nikon has made a camera where they have a lot of focus problems, and they haven't owned up to it yet.
And they released it too soon, probably.
I think they're getting closer. I've heard stories of people trying to send theirs to Melview, I think up there in New York, to
Melville, yeah.
Melville, one of their places.
Building a humongous facility there. That's
one of the places where you send it Nikon to get fixed, and Nikon's starting to tell people, hold off, don't send it in. We're investigating and developing a fix, because I think what's happening is they send it to Melview, and it's coming back maybe with the left, and the problem is the left sensor is having focus issues. It comes back with the left one fixed and the center and right one out. So they don't have a good fix right now, it appears, and as soon as they do, then they'll probably come back and.
Yeah, that's not a good thing for them. That could really hurt the public image to them and force people to go to other cameras before purchasing a new camera, I would think.
Yeah, when you come out with your camera like that, you really want to take some market share with it, and then you stumble like that. That's not a good thing to do. And hopefully behind the scenes they're scrambling as fast as they can. But this is one of those things that you want. As soon as you start hearing rumblings of there's an issue, they should have grabbed up cameras and start testing, like crazy, and come out and said, hey, look, we understand there's a problem. We're working on a fix. We'll have it out soon. rather than right now. They're at least at first they were telling people that there's no problem. And you'd like to at some point ask them, now earlier when you told us there's no problem, and it really turned out to be a problem, why'd you do that?
Yeah, because then people don't trust them later on. Are they telling us the truth? And that's a public relations nightmare. It really is.
Nope.
Yeah.
It is. Bad business.
Yeah.
It is. Hopefully eventually they get that figured out. And my thought was, let me get to 700 now. It gets me into full frame. I can save some money versus getting like a D3S or something like that. Save some money, maybe buy another lens or so, because I don't have a wide-angle lens now, because it won't. My crop sensor lens won't work on that right.
Won't fit anymore.
Yeah, so I've got to get a wide-angle lens, and then let's say in a year or so they fix the D800, then maybe I'll go to that and use the.
Well, what's your
700
widest
backup.
angle lens you have right now for your camera?
My widest lens for this?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's a good question.
Because if you're doing landscape, I think you're going to be using a wide angle more often than not.
Yeah, see, okay, here's another reason not to do what I did. So I make the mistakes and nobody else has to make them.
Don't tell me what digital lenses.
I have a Nikon 35mm DX, and my main lens that I use for landscape on my Nikon D2X, I don't have it right here to look at, so I can't show it to you, was a Tokina 12-24.
That's a nice lens.
Excellent lens, but it's also DX.
Oh,
So, and this camera drops down to a 5 megapixel whenever you go to DX.
a 5
So
megapixel.
I really do not want to go DX on this camera.
Wow. I would think they'd half it, not quartering it.
Yeah, and for anybody who's listening, there are advantages to DX. Everything isn't bad about DX, a crop sensor. For one thing, it's taking the best part of the lens, that center portion of the lens. The weakest portion of the lens is the outside edges,
Right.
generally. Full frame comes much closer to those outside edges, and that can have problems. So, and the DX actually gives you a little bit more reach, or so not real reach, but in effect reach. So there's advantages to that. The other thing, and this is another thing I'm worried about, Tim, is when I shoot with my 70-200 on my DX camera, I shoot wide open, f2.8.
Right. Which you should be.
And I know what the depth of field is generally with that 70-2.8, the 70-200. On the crop sense, on the DX, I mean on the 700, the D700, I'm going to have less.
It's going to be much shorter
I'm
field
going to have
of view.
less depth of field.
Right.
So I'm worried that I'm going to have to up the aperture. Check you have some close.
But
So
you're going to get much better blurred out backgrounds with the full frame.
now I know, Seth, you mentioned you're using at least one off-brand.
That's the only one that I have. I was a little skeptical with it, but I'm a shopaholic. I compare a lot of reviews at Amazon Prime, and I looked at a lot of reviews on it, and it looks pretty good. Hey, what's going on? Every time I talk, someone new pops up. That's pretty cool.
Who just joined us?
Just had two people, Jeff and Jane, I think.
Hey guys.
Oh, somebody's got a bird.
Hello, Jeff.
Jeff?
How's it going?
Oh, Jeff has some really amazing photos. Love your photos, Jeff.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
We were just talking about if who all uses off-brand lenses, whether you're Nikon, Canon, Sony. Do you have any off-brand lenses? And maybe let's talk about experience. Have they worked out for you? Have they not worked out for you?
I've actually used Sigma and Tamron, both with my Sony, and I find that the Sigmas are a little substandard.
I had heard that through reviews a little bit.
How about you guys, Trevor and Sarah?
Yeah, we have a Tamron 70-300 mil. The VR, VC, whatever they call it, is fantastic on it. Because I have a 18-105 Nikon. Obviously, it's a different type of different focal length, but I think it blows the Nikon away in vibration control.
Okay.
And I have actually read reviews where Tamron is better than Nikon in vibration control.
Wow. Tamron's great. I have a 2875, and it's a super lens. I love it. It's a tad dark, but I mean, now that I know that, I compensate.
I have a Tamron 90 macro lens that's really good. I think the thing that I have found with off-brand or third-party, whatever you want to call them, is that it's kind of a hit-or-miss thing. You have to be a little more careful. You know, the Canon, the Nikon, the Sony lenses, I think their quality control is really good for the most part. And you know, if you buy an 85 millimeter, 50 millimeter, 35, you know you're getting a quality lens. With the off-brand, you got to maybe do a little more research.
Well, that's where I think a site like DP Review really would come in, because they have probably a review on every lens out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I have read about the Sigmas have major quality control issues with their lenses.
you know, I had a Sigma 70-200 and Sigma 100-300. 70-200 was a 2.8 lens, and when I got it, I thought it was a really good lens, and it was good. But then a friend let me borrow his Nikon 70-200, and it was sharper, better contrast, better color. It just was all around better. But the question comes down to sometimes is it worth double the price or whatever that price difference is?
Right.
Sometimes it's not quite as good, but is it worth the price difference? And that's something you have to answer yourself personally. And in this case, it was. In this case, it was for me.
Yeah, I know around here has a Tamron lens. I've used his camera once or twice, and it feels like the autofocus is slow.
Yeah, and that's something that again you got to do research on, because it could be the autofocus is a little bit slower on some of the lens, or it could be that it's not as much contrast or something.
See, one thing that I've always kind of wondered as far as the third party goes is, are they the same standard for one brand versus another? You know, if you buy my lens, which I love on my Canon, can someone put the similar, you know, the same lens with the Nikon thread on theirs and be like, oh, this thing's a piece of junk? Like, I just kind of wonder how they translate talking the slightly different languages, you know?
Yeah, you know, obviously I don't have statistic information, but I've heard that says that sometimes the Nikon version of a lens under Sigma or Tamron, whoever it is really good, but that same version under Canon is not as good, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe they don't have that same quality control. Also, I think that I've heard that in general they're getting better. Like Ryan Brenizer we had on last week, he said the Sigma 85 millimeter 1.4 was excellent.
I wanted that lens so bad, and I didn't hear him say that. Okay.
he said the build quality is not as good; it's more plastic. But I tend to really baby my equipment. You know, I don't make money from it, so I can't afford to be just tossing them around. So I really take care of them. So
Can't
for me
go
to
out
build,
and buy a new one just because you dropped it.
yeah, I mean, somebody who's heavily using it. I mean, he's shooting 70 weddings a year.
Wow.
He's going to get the use out of his camera and then move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So build quality is probably very critical to him. To me, it's not quite as critical. So other than that, he said that the 85 1.4 under Sigma was just as good or almost as good as the Nikon version. And the Nikon version is going to set you back pretty good.
No, price. Yeah.
So that may be, I need to get a wide angle lens first, because I don't know how I'm going to go shoot landscapes with this thing now. Who's the other person that joined us?
Someone with crickets.
Jane.
So it's me. It's Jane. Sorry, I was putting my volume up.
The Cricket Master.
That was me. And you're
I
not
can
gonna
hear
see
you. I
what
can't see you.
Hopefully you can't see what I look like.
Oh yeah, we can. We can see you.
You see perfect.
Please don't tell me that.
We're just surprised you're wearing that.
Me too.
No, we cannot see you.
Yeah.
Good. I didn't realize this was going to be on camera.
Not only is it on camera, it's been streamed live to YouTube and to our website.
Oh, well, that I don't care.
All over the world.
And recorded. Don't forget that. So anybody
That
can
I
get it
don't
in the
care.
future.
As long as they can't see me, I'm fine.
Yeah, nobody, we can't see you. I can click the unhide camera button here.
Oh, great.
No, I can't.
Yeesh.
So, Jeff and Jane, have y'all done a Hangout before?
I have not. Obviously, I would have put my makeup on and gotten dressed.
Yeah, actually, it is first for me too. I just bought a new webcam. I've been resisting the urge for years and finally took the dive. So
Yeah, Hangouts are pretty good. You know, they're free, and if you've ever done anything through Skype, you know sometimes the Skype video can be a little bit better, but we've had issues with Skype where the video would just sit there and spin, and we wouldn't get the video. If you went back and looked at some of our earlier shows where we're using Skype, you would see that where the video is just spinning and spinning, and nothing's coming up, and then you got to buy their premium account. So this is pretty good. You can't have a maximum of 10 people in here, which is pretty good. And Tim, I'm watching the CPU. You know, if you were here for the pre-show, we are up to 61%. So
so it doubled.
That's interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
Jeff, I'm sorry. What, Jeff?
No, I was just gonna say it's a little choppy on my end, but I think it's my connection. So if I lose you guys, you know what happened.
Are you on wireless or are you on a wired network?
I'm on a wireless. Generally, it's pretty good, but some of the video streaming lags a little bit.
Yeah,
your wireless should be faster than your uplink, anyways. So
I think the problem, and if you ever watch the show, I think this is part of the problem that Kathleen has, is wireless is good, but when it's doing a lot of streaming over a lot of time, it sometimes has trouble.
Yeah.
If she would just physically connect that cable, and we've talked to her, we're going to help her with that, I think her connection would be better. What was I doing here? So, Jeff, what kind of things do you like to shoot?
Kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to shooting. I shoot a lot of model work, a lot of studio work. You know, a lot of strobe lighting. I do work with some art groups locally, and you know, I'm trying to go with a little more fine art for my personal projects. But you know, when it comes to paid gigs, I do a little bit of everything: maternity shoots, weddings, whatever.
Whatever.
What are you using?
What was that?
What are you
Whatever
using?
puts gas in the tank.
Sony?
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you using a Sony? Is that what you said before?
Yeah, I got into the Pro line, you know, the initial prosumer versions of their cameras, mainly because I got one dirt cheap, and that's what I learned on. And I had a ton of old Minolta film lenses lying around, so I can snap them right on, which is nice. And,
Sounds like me.
Yeah, and you know, I just really dug that they had the in-body stabilization, and you know, there's some downsides, but for the most part, I really dig it, and I've stuck with it. I'm on my third body now.
Which one are you using now?
Right now, I'm using the A550, and I'm looking to upgrade probably next month.
They just announced, I think today, I got a message. The A99 came out, and it's a full frame camera, but it's $2,800, and
Yeah.
it's about $2,000 more than I want. Well, no, I shouldn't say, because I probably paid $1,500 for my A77. So
Yeah,
I love my camera.
I was looking at the A77. That actually might be a way I'm going to go next. Because right now it's, you know, I work a 9 to 5. This isn't my primary. I'm making my money on the side with it. So, you know, I got to be a little sparing with my expenses when it comes to my toys.
Yes.
Same here. Now, Seth, are you full-time photographer?
I sort of. I do photography, graphic design, and video. So that's why I was saying that earlier. But yeah, it's a mix. But yeah, that's actually all I do is those three.
And Seth, this is your first hangout, and you've already figured out lower thirds.
It's what I do, you know. No, it's
Very good, very good.
Now, if you were really going to be Kathleen tonight, you would still not have had that figured out.
Oh, yeah.
And he still doesn't have the blonde wig on.
I still don't. You know, I lost it.
Now, Sarah and Trevor, are you guys full-time photographers?
No. Just weekend warriors.
Okay. Who are and Andy? I think you also have a full-time job, right?
Yeah, I'm an engineer.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm trying to convince my son to become an engineer, and he's only 10.
Jeff, Jeff, your profile photo on Facebook. What is that? You?
Yeah, that's what happens when you get bored. Your wife's out partying with her friends and basically found a bag of flour and set up some lights.
No, I thought that was cool. if people who are watching this later, since we're not showing the photo, probably wonder what I'm talking about. It's an angled down look, and Jeff looks like he's covered in some kind of powder, and now we know what it is. It's flour.
Yeah, I figured that was the least toxic to fool around with, just in case I inhaled a whole bunch of it. So.
Yeah, did you make a mess, or were you able to clean it up before the wife came home?
Yeah, no, I cleaned it up before she got home, but
Okay.
she's almost gotten used to the strange things I do when she's away and the
Oh wow.
results.
Hey, I did want to commend you with doing Sony. I think a lot of people, they're like, oh, you got to go Nikon, you got to go Canon. I mean, one of the biggest fashion photographers in the industry is Sony, and he's happy to be Sony. Matthew Jordan Smith.
Oh yeah.
He's Sony.
I've seen some of his work. It's actually very nice. I gotta say, I think of it this way. I don't knock any brand. It's really just a matter of what feels good in your hand as far as what you're comfortable shooting. I think they all have their benefits, but it comes down to bells and whistles and what works for each person.
Yeah.
Sony makes a lot of the sensors for Nikon now.
Yeah. I was just reading about that.
Wow.
So even though you may think that, like in my case, I have a Nikon, I actually have a Sony sensor. Well, in the 700, I don't know for sure, but I know in some of the newer cameras it does.
It's definitely in the new ones. I don't know what the other ones are.
Oh.
So one of the things that I talked about at the beginning of the show is how I'm testing out a new that we've upgraded the server a little bit, the broadcast server, and it's got a new CPU and I got a new encoding card in there. And I think as the show goes on, the file that it's creating is just humongous. Tim, it's over 4 GB now.
Oof.
I'm gonna have to change something there.
Yeah.
And I think over time the CPU is getting a little bit higher because we're up to 70% now. And I don't know if it's because maybe I made the file too big.
Could try using something like Huffy.
Yeah, I don't have that as a choice. You're very limited. It's only H.264.
Oh, well, Huffy's it's lossless. It's basically designed for fast encoding and slow decoding.
Yeah.
So I used it with TV capture cards, but in college for a while. It was great for capture, but like an hour of TV was, I think, 25 gigabytes.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't want the file to get too big because ultimately I got to get it all the way down to 400 meg or something.
Right.
So it's a lossless codec, so that's why it's so large.
And when I first started producing these shows, I think if you got some of the earlier shows,
they were huge.
some of the video large files were like 800 meg. I can't be putting out that kind of size file. Now, I keep forgetting, Jane, that you're there because you don't have video and you're not saying anything. Do you have any questions?
Okay. I'm wondering how you like your 700. Have you tried it out yet?
Yeah, here's the only way I've tried it is, I get home every night and it's dark, and my son has swimming practice every night, so I took him. Was it Monday night and Tuesday night? Last night, I took him, and while I'm sitting in the car, out in the parking lot, I have an 85 millimeter on it because I didn't want to put a zoom lens and look like some kind of stalker, and I'm just from the car shooting like the sign. The sign for the place and that kind of stuff, and just playing around with it that way, trying out ISO 6400, and then just playing with the menus. I did a lot of setup on the menu. So really, I have not shot anything. I did find this camera, and maybe all you guys' cameras do. My earlier cameras did not do this. I can shoot without a memory card in there. It won't save them, but it allows me to shoot, and I guess it uses the internal buffer, and as soon as you turn the camera off, they're gone.
Wow.
But at least you have the photos there. It actually even shows you on the LCD screen. It says demo because it won't save them.
Yeah, a lot of the older ones could do that. A lot of times there was an option buried in the menu that was shoot without card.
Yeah, I don't think my old one did it because crazy thing is when I got home Monday night, I took the card out, put it in a reader, pulled them up on the Lightroom, and was looking at the noise that it did. So when I leave to go Tuesday, when I get to the place where my son is swimming, I pull out the camera, and that's when I realize I left the card at home.
I did that a couple of weeks ago, and I think I got through about 40 pictures before I realized I had no card in it. And the funny thing is, somebody even said to me, "Do you have film in there?" I was like, "No, my camera don't use film anymore. It uses a card." And something struck me and said, do I have the card with me? And sure enough, it was in the computer at home.
You didn't tell anybody though, right?
No, nobody knows. My wife knows. That's about it.
And now
Actually,
all of us.
It's jpeg2RAW Confessions Edition.
Well, here's a
To make
confession.
matters worse, I actually on my camera strap, I had a spare card in there, and I forgot I had it in there.
Oh, man.
I was like, that was just a waste of a day.
Oh man.
Labor Day
Well,
picnic,
as long as
that
we're doing
didn't happen.
confessions, I showed up at my company has like a softball team, and I showed up to shoot it one night. And when I got there, I pulled out the camera, did all that stuff, and no card. And one of the guys said, "Hey, just run home." And I said, "Yeah, it's a 30-minute drive home and a 30-minute drive back, and the game was an hour-long game, so there's no photos tonight." He wanted to take the memory card out of his phone, and said, "Will this work?" I said, "No, that's not going to work. You cannot use
Somebody
the
did
memory
that
card
to
from
me
your
before
phone."
too, yeah.
I got the adapter. It works in mine.
Which memory card does your new camera use, Mike?
It still uses compact flash.
Oh, so at least you get to use the old cards that you had.
Yeah.
And that's good.
So but I generally have a checklist, at least a mental one. I know where things go in my bag, and when I put them in the bag, I do a check. And here's how, anal I am. I'll do it down here in my office, put the stuff in there, do everything else, and when I get upstairs, I just have this feeling I forgot something. So open the bag up and re-look through everything again. Did I forget anything? And I guess that night I was just too much of a rush and I missed it.
Okay, I have a short confession. Mine is really short.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm out on a gig, and I have a friend of mine that's with me. It's kind of scratch my back, I scratch yours. I'm showing her photography, and she's helping me out. Well, she takes a look at my bag, and she's like, "Seth, your bag is a mess." I was like, "Yeah, it's been busy lately." And then I come back later on, and she's like, "I fixed it for you." I was like, "No, everything's in a different. It's all wrong. Everything is wrong." But you know what? I said, "You know what? Thank you," because I just kept on smiling. And she meant well. She's great. She's good help. But it got to me that night.
Anybody else have any confessions that you can share and keep the show PG-13?
Well, being a studio guy, I bring a ton of equipment with me. At least 3 strobes, a bunch of triggers, wires. So there's several occasions I've left a power cord home or one of my triggers home and had to kind of fight my way through with half my gear.
Wow.
Andy?
Not really. I have 6 SD cards, and half the time I'm trying to find the one that's empty.
Oh wow.
I take the pictures. I forget to take the pictures off the cards.
Jane?
I kind of work on that, just trying to clear them out as I go, so that I don't have that.
I have a method. When I use one up, I put it back in the thing backwards.
That's what
My camera bag has holders for them, and when I put them back, I put them in there backwards.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it's
what I
not
do as
fine.
well.
That's easy because I set the lock tab, so I know which ones I've used. The problem is I don't take pictures. I take pictures as a hobby, so I don't have anything that I have to get them off the cards for.
Okay.
So I think the last ones I've actually finished sorting are from like 6 weeks ago, and all 6 cards have stuff on them right now.
Oh wow.
I'm actually like a freak about that. As soon as I get home, I dump the whole card. I'm a kid with a new toy. I got to see the shots right away.
I do that too. For that reason, Jeff, and also because I want to make sure I get them on the off the cable. Off the camera and onto the computer.
What is everybody using for software?
Lightroom.
Lightroom?
Yeah, I'm Lightroom 4. I'm so happy to be there.
Oh, so am I.
I'm using Lightroom 3 to do all my basic adjustments and CS5 for all my other work.
Okay. How about Trevor and Sarah?
Yeah, we're doing Lightroom 4, and then I will take some things into Elements if it needs some additional. But we've really, I used to do just everything in Elements, but since we got Lightroom and have really learned it and watched a lot of tutorials and just decided it's just so much easier and faster and so I'm a big Lightroom 4 fan.
Yeah. Now that being said, though, Adobe Camera Raw is pretty nice. I mean, it's not Lightroom, but it's cool too for the people that use that.
I think it's the same basic engine. I think both Lightroom and Photoshop use the same basic engine.
Yeah,
Jane, what do you use?
I'm Lightroom 3, and then usually end up taking most of mine into Elements, and I've been very happy with Elements. Debating whether to go to CS6, I don't know.
Well, that brings up a question. Has anybody considered going to Adobe Creative Cloud?
Not really.
I have all the software. No, I haven't. But I mean, it sounded like it was a good solution for you, like people that are in your situation.
Yeah, if you can get, especially if you can get it for the $30 a month. I mean, if you got to pay the full $50 a month, you really need to make sure you're going to be able to make use of more than just Lightroom, or maybe even just Lightroom Photoshop.
Can you explain? I've never heard of it. I don't know what it is. Can you explain what it is?
Good. So Adobe Creative Cloud, and maybe while we're talking, I can try and bring it up, is Adobe offers, they have like a full CS package that has everything in it from Lightroom to Photoshop to After Effects and the video editing thing. It's a whole long list of things that you can get there. And you can get it on a subscription basis. So you pay, if you can get the educational discount, meaning you have to have somebody as a teacher or a .edu email address, it's $30 a month. If you can't get it for that, then it's $50 a month.
Okay.
Just a note on that, education discount works if you have a student in the house as well.
If they have a .edu, so if they're like an elementary student, they're not going to have it. But if they are like a kid who got an email address from there, or there may be even other ways. The easiest way is
I was able to use my. I'm sorry, I was able to use my. My son's in elementary school and just submitted an enrollment. You can do an enrollment letter or just like a report card, with like their identifying information blacked out or whatever, but just as long as it proves that they're a student.
And my wife was a teacher, so I was able to send in a copy of her paycheck with all the data just blacked out, and that's what I did for Adobe as well.
So then, if you can do that, Sarah, you can get it for $29 a month, or $30 a month. And I'm trying to find where that shows you. I've got it pulled up here. I'm trying to find all the different things that they give you. Let's see.
Yeah, I thought my understanding was that it was like the full, like every piece of software that they have.
It is. It's everything.
Additionally, they actually have a couple. They actually have a couple services that are just for the cloud. So you can't. They're not standalone. They're only within that cloud.
Well,
a couple things.
So how does that affect the speed of your workflow?
So I think the first thing people think is, well, I don't want cloud-based Photoshop. It's really a bad name for it because people think that it's cloud-based. But you download all the programs. So I've downloaded Photoshop, the full Photoshop extended, the newest Lightroom. I'm showing it now of all the different things that they have. It's a long list of stuff here. You download them, you run them off your computer. So they're not the cloud part of it is that it does have to go out. You do have to have an internet connection. It does need to go out and see that you have, can use that. I think it has to make a connection. It doesn't have to make it every time you use it, but every 30 days or whatever it is, it's got to make that connection and see that you still have an active subscription. And you also get some cloud disk space up there at Adobe. But the software runs locally, so it's no different in between Lightroom and Photoshop that you would buy than it is if you download this.
So it's running off of local PC power.
It is. It's not a cloud-based solution. I mean, it's all running locally. So the other thing is, of course, so let's say you run it for a year and then you cancel your subscription. Well, then you don't have the software anymore.
Right.
But you got to figure you're going to get all this software and for $30 a month. So if you got it for the $30 a month, then that is $360 for the year. I mean, that's pretty cheap to get everything.
For a year, yeah.
And the other twist here, you think, well, I don't upgrade every time they come out with a new product. The problem is that with CS6, they came out with a new policy that says the only way you get the upgrade price is if you own the latest version. So when CS7 comes out, if you say, well, that is enough in advance, I want to go ahead and buy it, you only get the upgrade price if you're a CS6 owner. So they really have forced you into a upgrade cycle where you got to upgrade every time, and which makes the Creative Suite even more attractive. Sarah and Trevor, is there anything that you would want out of that Creative Suite that maybe you don't have already? And
I'm not sharp enough to know.
I mean, I could probably, play around with the full version of Photoshop, but my understanding for my purposes is that there is not enough of game changers in it. Because they've brought elements so far ahead, or so far in the last few versions that they've released. So, but Photoshop probably would be one. InDesign might be another. For like album design, I know I've seen some things about that photographers have used InDesign to do album design. And other than that, I use Adobe Acrobat for forms and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I think if you already own full Photoshop and Lightroom, it probably doesn't make sense. But if you are someone thinking, you know what, I want to pick up full Photoshop and I don't own it already, then it may be worth it for you. But you're right. Photoshop elements have come a long way, and you can do a lot in there. That it may not be worth it to upgrade. It may not be something you want to do, especially if you're getting what you want in Lightroom. I do most of my work in Lightroom.
And hey, the cool thing also about that Creative Cloud is that it's in the regular CS Suite, it doesn't have Lightroom.
True, you're right. They just added that to the Creative Cloud suite just recently. And if you see here what I have up on the site, Lightroom is I don't know if y'all can see my mouse. Eventually, you'll see it here. Lightroom is on this line here, and the only dot is way over here on Creative Cloud. The one thing I did, because this was a lot of software to download, is I went out and bought a special SSD hard drive, not like the regular hard drive I have in here, and I loaded all these programs on that SSD hard drive, so they are really fast. But it has slowed down the production of my show because I am not as good with those things, and I really fought Premiere. I really fought Premiere to get it to work, and I ultimately gave up on what I wanted to do.
Oh man!
Because Premiere is their video editing program. It's really, really
awesome.
Good. It is really the standard. But the problem with the way this thing records, it's not Premiere, it's more this thing. The way this thing records is when you import that video into Premiere, the audio and video is out of sync. And it is not the out of sync where you can fix it on the beginning or fix it on the end. The out of sync changes over the time of the course of the video. So there's no way to get it back in sync. For whatever reason, the program I was using doesn't have a problem with that, so I've had to stick with that. Now, Audition, which is their audio editing program, that is like Audacity on steroids. That thing is incredible, and I have got where I can do that fairly okay for what I need to do now. So it's coming along pretty good for that. But most of the other things are way over my head. It's going to take me a while before I get good at them.
Yeah, caca.
Well, guys, we're at over an hour now. So, anything y'all want to talk about? Any questions you have for us? Any suggestions for the show? Do you want me to tell you who's coming up on the show? Anything like that?
Yeah, I'd like to know.
I still want to win a prize. I still want to win something.
Well, we got this thing, which is a cheap thing, and we have the Intuos. But don't you already have one of these, Sess?
I do. My son stole my pen, and I don't know. So I found it later after I had already bought one. We found it about a month later in something. But yeah, it's no, I'm good. I love it. I use it every single day.
Jeff, do you use one of these?
About that.
Yep, I got mine right here.
Awesome. Yes, Sarah?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask about those because I'm curious about possibly getting one, or maybe winning the one you have there.
Yeah. Somebody is going to.
So, but for photo editing, is it a big learning curve to get used to that?
There is a learning curve. Maybe the other guys probably used it more than me, Jeff and Seth, so they probably talk more about it. But for me, it has taken me. It's taken some getting used to. But it's a pen. It's just a pen that you're drawing on this tablet, and once you get the feel for that, the tablet is the same size as it means the same thing as your screen. So in your upper left-hand corner on the tablet, you're in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Once you get that feeling down, it works fairly well.
And what's the advantage? I mean, I've just looked into them a little bit. What's the advantage?
Seth or Jeff, do y'all want to answer that, or do you want me to?
I can tell you for me, I draw a little bit, but I mean outside of that, okay, we're talking photography. As far as blemishes and stuff like that, I mean it makes that stuff a snap. When you're doing your spot healing and whatever, if you airbrush a little bit, I mean that's just it's beautiful for that.
I agree. My limited use, it's so much easier to hone in on exactly the area of the photo you're looking for versus using a mouse.
Yeah, and it's touch sensitive too. So it's if you do it lightly, it'll get that little spot. If you do it a little more heavy, you can get a little bit more. I mean that's my experience. Jeff, you got some?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because I do a lot of digital retouch in Photoshop. So if you do anything with masks and overlays, and you want to get real fine-tuned masks, the pen's the way to go. Now that I have it, my workflow is like probably half the time on any image.
It's beautiful.
Once you get good at it, it's really easier to use. It comes with all these. It comes with this thing that you set the pen into.
Yeah.
And then you take that apart, and it comes with all of these little things that you can put into the pen. And to tell you the truth, I've never used any of them, but I guess they do different things.
Yeah, I just use the one it came with. I mean, it's been great. I've never felt the need to switch personally. I've been comfortable the whole time. So
yeah,
I've actually worn out 2 nubs, but like I said, I do a ton in Photoshop. I'm always using that thing. But I gotta say, even the programmable buttons and the jog dial on it. Once you get used to using them, it's really tough to get used to for maybe the first day or two. But once you assign some tasks to them and you use your jog dial, you'll skip using the keyboard altogether.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jeff. And Jeff's already figured out the lower third thing too there.
Yeah, it went green.
I was, Jeff, you mentioned wearing them out. When I pulled it out, I was looking at it and I said, you know what? It doesn't look right. I think I have worn this one down a little bit.
Yeah, you get a flat edge on them.
Yeah. So I guess I have used it more than I thought. I'm getting a little bit flat edge. But the little dial that's on that thing, I like to use it to change the size of my the brush.
Yeah.
So you can just use that dial, go way down small, go way big, really fast, and change the size of my brush.
It works a little bit different in Photoshop than Lightroom. That kind of threw me off when I first got Lightroom, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. And it's a touch-sensitive dial for those who haven't used it. So it's almost like the dial on the old iPods.
Yeah.
So you basically just run your finger around it, and you can set it up to control your zoom, the brush size, any number of functions. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it can replace like keyboard shortcuts that you are. Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Typically, Sarah, whenever I'm going to use it to work on a photo, I move the keyboard out of the way, and then move the pad right where the keyboard was, and then I'm doing it like that.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, I have a little computer cart thing that I have all my stuff set up on, and it's got one of those
I was thinking about that. I actually put it on my lap, and I just sit comfortably and just do whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, it's nice because you roll the keyboard under, and then I just have the mouse in one hand and the tablet on my left, and I just pick up the pen and alternate between the two.
Now, I have the small. What size do you guys have?
I think it's the small. It's probably about, I'd say, 10 inches long.
Yeah. I think mine's the small too.
Okay, and that's what this one is.
Intuos, is that the main brand? I mean, I know that there's probably some other brands.
Yeah,
Whack 'em.
Yeah.
There you go. That's how you say it. Whack 'em.
Yeah.
Intuos, I think. Whack 'em is the brand, right?
Yes.
Right, and Intuos is the like the
model sort of. Yeah,
Yeah, they also
they have a bamboo like sub
Bamboo.
fine too. It's kind of the more play around version of it.
And then you have
Yeah.
the uber expensive Cintiq that has its own monitor built in.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then even this the Intuos here comes in different sizes. So like I think all three of us, Seth, Jeff, and I all have the small,
Yeah.
but there's a medium, a large, and I think an extra large.
Yeah, I don't have the desk real estate for anything bigger, and honestly, I don't think there's a need for it.
Yeah, I
Right.
don't have the desk real estate for it either, and I think I don't know. If I did have the desk, like you said, Jeff, I don't know if I would need something that much bigger.
Yeah.
Well, guys, any other questions before we head out? We're like an hour and a half into the show. This was a good hangout. Thank you guys for joining in.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah,
thanks
this is
for
great.
bringing it up.
And
Enjoy it.
Sarah, who knows? Maybe you'll win this. I will.
Yeah,
I got to figure out how we're going to do the giveaway. I got to figure out how we're going to do the giveaway and then get it started.
How about whoever looks the worst?
You'd have to turn your camera on there, Jane.
I might do it for that.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming. I'll go ahead and end the show and be looking for this on iTunes and everywhere else in the next few days.
Thanks,
Good night,
Mike.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.